Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr Chairman. Part 1 of the Customs and Excise Budget Measures Motor Spirits Amendment Bill raises taxes on middle and lower income New Zealanders, a direct contradiction of what the National Party said they were going to do before they came to government. John Key went up and down the country telling anybody who would listen that he would bring taxes down. He would bring taxes down for everybody. He even promised that he wasn't going to put GST up. That's what John Key said. He promised that he wasn't going to put GST up and taxes were going to come down. Well, sir, GST went up. One of the most regressive taxes that we have, that was put up, and then a whole range of other increase in costs. ACC was put up. We know that early childhood education costs have gone up, the cost of prescriptions have gone up, the cost of going to the GP has gone up, and of course over time the fuel tax has gone up, and once again here we have the fuel taxes going up again. And as Trevor Mallard pointed out in his committee stage contribution, sir, we're not absolutely certain that this increase was required under legislation. That in fact the principal act that is amended by Part 1 of this bill actually allows for regulations to be made by Order in Council to increase the excise tax on fuel. So why are we here on a Saturday afternoon debating this bill? Well, the only logical answer can possibly be that the government desperately needed these fuel taxes to be considered part of the budget, to get them to that wafer-thin $75 million budget surplus that we know is 0.1% of total revenue. That is well within any margin of error. At any point in time, that surplus could be lost by any one of the errors that could be caused by any one of the ministers over there. Simon Bridges. It could be. It's much smaller than 0.1%. Well, maybe we could. That'll be a debating point that we can figure out exactly how small the margin of error is for this, sir. But that's why the government is increasing taxes on fuel and increasing them by legislation here in Part 1 of this bill. They had other options. They could have done it by regulation, but they needed this to be part of this year's budget so that they could account for it as part of their surplus that we know they will barely meet, and only by searching around for every single possible little cent by increasing costs. The poor old paper boys got it last year. They were looking at the car parks. They were looking at, they were looking at FBT on laptops and iPads. They've looked for every possible way to shake middle-income New Zealanders down for every penny they've got because of their unaffordable tax cuts, sir. That's why they can't get to surplus, because one of the first things they did was they came in and sure, they cut taxes like they promised they were going to, but who did they cut taxes for? They cut taxes for their mates, the people at the top. That's who they cut taxes for, and then they load all these extra charges onto people. These extra charges, like the increase in the fuel excise tax included in Part 1 of this bill, sir, that's what this is all about, making up for those unaffordable tax increases, sir. But look, even if the minister is right, and this is genuinely about putting more money into the National Land Transport Fund, the reason for this is because of this government's profligacy when it comes to the roads of significance to national, the roads of political significance. They do nothing for growth. It's not about growth. It's not about a growth agenda, because a growth agenda would be about an integrated transport network, sir. This is about roads of political significance to the National Party. As we saw from the Hollow Men, we know that their internal emails have been about making sure that all the money that they raise from fuel excise taxes and road user charges go into superhighways, sir. And they've talked about actually making that part of their policy. Of course, they've realised that they can't quite go that far, sir. So what we get is a bill like this, that the Minister himself said in his first reading speech, Mr Chairman,
I move that...
Mr Chairman...
I'm going to move the Honourable David Cunliffe.
Thank you, Mr Chairman.